Woohoo! Travis in the studio, control seat. God, my headphones are loud. Anyway, I think Aaron's have hearing problems because I'm in his seat today, and this is crazy loud. Anyway, so we're here today for the Greater Wealth. I think that's mine. There it is. Beautiful. Love it. I've got ears now. So, Derek, welcome to the Greater Wealth.
Thanks.
Live, Edge Radio. Let's see how many of us got blocked. Yep, there we go. Aaron's been blocked again. Good old Facebook, getting into it. Love it. So we'll do a reshare in a bit on that one. It's still going live to my Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and also good old Twitch. Love a good Twitch stream. They've actually, I have to admit, out of all the streaming services, they've been the best. I like Twitch.
Yeah.
You should get a Twitch account.
You should get an X account.
I do have one, but we don't have the ticks and all the other verification to be able to do live videos for it yet. We're working on it slowly. Anyway, so Derek, first of all, it's great to see you back in the studio.
It's great to be here.
Excellent. Aaron is over there getting off Aaron FM. So we are now jumping into the show. So what have we got today? You sent me a heap of videos. I haven't watched them yet, so I have no idea what I'm getting myself into here.
You're getting yourself into all sorts of manner. Look, it's really interesting what's going on in the United States right now. The headlines have been, of course, and we covered it last week, silver. We've been covering the whole Venezuelan thing, the Iran thing, even the Greenland thing to a little extent. And one of the stories that's kind of going a little bit under the radar but is hugely significant is this little battle between banks and the crypto industry and, of course, the United States. So you may recall last year, Trump did a little visit out to the developments that are happening at the Federal Reserve. And there he was with the hat on, with the brow. And in front of the cameras, there was a little debate as to how much the actual renovation was costing the taxpayers and the money that was coming in terms of the Federal Reserve. And I mean, they would argue it's probably not the taxpayers. It's actually interest back from the government that's being paid. But then who pays the interest to the governments? It's obviously the taxpayers. So you just look at the command of line there as far as how money moves. But it's really interesting what's going on this week with power under a lot of heat and fire. I'd like us to just rewind the clock a little bit before we get to that. And Trump has been saying that Powell's been too slow on doing things. Now, last year he dropped the interest rate 3 times. And each time it was one basis point, so 0.25%. So that's a total of 0.75% for the year. Trump has been wanting to get that even lower because he wants Americans in homes. The cost of living has been very high over the last few years. He's doing what he can to bring inflation down. He's been doing what he can to relieve the tax burden from Americans by getting tariffs happening, which has been very, very controversial, which has had a Supreme Court challenge. And so Trump's saying, if we don't get this, we are done. We've got to get this through the Supreme Court. Other nations do it. What's the big issue? And then you've got the other side of it where Americans are wanting to get in their own home, but the average house price for Americans has actually been 40, which is crazy, right, in terms of when they buy their homes. So I want to have a look at, just first off, kicking this off, how Powell responded on housing when he was questioned by the media. And of course, that at the Fed, they have to give the report to the public and all this sort of stuff. Take a listen to this first video in terms of where he was standing at that point last year in relation to the whole housing issue.
Housing market remains kind of weak with these rate cuts that we've seen. Is there a chance we're going to see more affordability in the housing market so more people can maybe enjoy that part of wealth creation? I mean, the average age or median age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. That's the highest on record.
Yeah, so the housing market faces some really significant challenges. And I don't know that, a 25 basis point decline in the federal funds rate is going to make much of a difference for people. Housing supply is low. Many people have very, very low rate mortgages from the pandemic period, and they kept refinancing and got the really low. So it's made it expensive for them to move. And, we're a ways away from that changing. Also, we haven't built enough housing in the country for a long time, and so a lot of estimates suggest that we just need more housing of different kinds. So,
So that was kind of what was going on towards the tail of last year, and questions were happening. Look, to Trump, are you going to, fire Powell and all that sort of stuff? And he's
I don't
saying,
think he's got the authority, has he?
well, that's the whole mystery about it all, right? Because the Fed is supposed to be independent of the US government. And so, Trump has been asked that question by journalists, and he's been basically said, I could get rid of him. I could get rid of him. I want to. And then late last year, there was a report where he said, I've been under pressure just to let him, serve out his time, because his time at the helm of the Fed is ending in May 2026. So
don't think that's going to get renewed.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get renewed either. But that's, they've already been talking about who's that replacement going to be and all this kind of conversation. Now, the rumor is from insiders at the Fed, I've seen leaked documentation that they don't like, Powell does not like Trump. And obviously,
really?
Can understand why in terms of, hey, I want to fire you and all this sort of stuff and you're not doing enough and all this pressure. But what's been fascinating is over the week, federal investigators opened a criminal investigation into Fed Chairman Jerome Powell.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Were you aware of that?
No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I've been mainly looking at internet because, as some people are aware, I am actually a Panama resident on paper. So most of my attention has been in Venezuela because whatever happens in Venezuela is only there's Venezuela, Colombia, and then Panama. So whatever happens in Venezuela directly affects Panama, and a lot of our stuff is through there. So that's where most of my focus has been. And this is why I love coming onto this show, because it's a new perspective of something I need to be aware of. So what would actually happen if the criminal investigation actually proceeds to a prosecution?
Well, we'll get to that. Because I got really good footage on that. But this is what he's under criminal investigation for. He's under fire for the cost of renovating the Fed DC headquarters. The cost ballooned from $1.9 billion to $2.5 billion. Trump says he could have done it for $23 million, these renovations. As he says, it's not like they were actually building a whole new building. It was just a renovation. And so...
Hang on. 2.3 billion. How big is this building?
2.5 billion.
2.5 billion for a renovation.
Yep.
How big is this building?
Well, according to Trump, it's not a very big building. And so according to the Gateway Pundit, the federal investigators have opened up a criminal investigation into this. And Powell has asked the central bank's inspector general to conduct an additional review of the ongoing renovation. CNN previously reported, and last month some Senate lawmakers grilled Powell for what they depicted as lavish upgrades to its DC headquarters at Powell's semi-annual monetary policy hearing. And so they're all going, what is going on? Where is the money being actually going? And Trump's been saying, now look, Trump's a builder. He's got that behind him, and give Powell a little bit of a slack here in terms of, okay, he probably doesn't have the building experience that Trump does. But however, $1.9 billion to $2.5 billion when Trump claims it could have been done for $23 million.
Well, think about it this way. The new extensions to the White House, wasn't that $200 million?
The ballroom that they're building?
The ballroom and the hallway and all that sort of stuff.
I don't know the figure on that. I know. But $1.9 billion, and now it's blown out to $2.5 billion.
And don't forget, that's US dollars as well. How much did it cost them to build our rail network in WA?
I don't know.
That was like $500 million. Our entire nursing budget is on like 2.7 billion, I think it is from memory. The Snowy River hydro system, including all that infrastructure, was quoted at 1.2 billion Australian. So that's about 700 million US dollars. So and we're way more expensive when it comes to construction than what America is. Those numbers are astronomical.
They are. And so, according to this report from the Gateway Pundit, last July, Jerome Powell was criminally referred to the Justice Department for prosecution. GOP Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna sent a letter to the Department of Justice accusing Powell of perjury. So this is all alleged charges and all that sort of stuff. We've got to stress this, But what was fascinating about this is then Powell then comes out after this is going on with the following video.
And here it is.
The Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political.
And on it goes.
Wow. Okay, so my understanding of law, now remember this is different, Australia is different to America.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you weren't allowed to make comments on potential upcoming case.
Well, he's just come out with this statement, which is really highly unusual in many regards, because why would you start going and justifying yourself to the world on a case that they're investigating? Okay.
It's not even charges yet.
Yeah. So that's really, really interesting. Trump was questioned on what was going on, and he had this to say on this next part as to what was going on.
Says that the subpoena, the grand jury subpoena to the Federal Reserve Chairman was a little excessive. What do you think about that?
Well, that's why Tom's not going to be a senator any longer, I guess, right?
Well, what do you think?
But I like Tom Tillis. He's a nice guy. But look, he's not going to be a senator any longer because of views like that. We have a bad Fed chairman. He's bad in a lot of different ways, but he's bad because his interest rates were too high. And today we had a great inflation report. And today we had a really great growth report. So we have great growth and low inflation. And we're doing very well.
Do you think there's going to be a rate cut, though? With the inflation
I don't know. With this guy, you don't know. He's got some problems. But what he also did, he's renovating a small building. It's the most expensive construction job in history, and it's only a renovation. I could have done that job for $25 million. They're spending billions and billions of dollars. He either doesn't know what he's doing, or it's worse than that. And you know what I mean by worse. So hopefully he'll be out of there soon.
Does it impact your timing on naming a Fed chair?
No.
When do you expect to do that now?
I don't know, sometime in the next few weeks.
So there you go. He's expecting to name the new replacement in the next few weeks. 25 million, Trump reckons he could have done it for, and this has blown it to billions.
So he reckons he can do it for 1% of what it's actually costing. And the thing is, I actually don't doubt that he does actually have the 1%. Might be blowing smoke up people's backsides, but definitely at least 10%.
It's a renovation, though. It's not a construction.
That's what I'm saying. And also, if it's generally when you got historical buildings, you got to do it in the same. You got to use the same building materials, same techniques to replace it, especially if it's a heritage listed building. So taking that into account, let's give him a bit of leeway. Let's give him 10% instead of 1%. That's still $250 million. Like half the buildings. Okay, so put that into perspective. A Boeing 737, when they came out, they were $180 million US dollars. So that's a brand new airplane just to renovate, like paint, carpets.
And the plane can make you money.
Exactly. Like I'm trying to think.
Now, people would argue this building's making them money. If you want to go down that line.
I'm going to leave that one alone. I'll save that one for you. But I'm thinking about what's actually in a building. Okay, you've got kitchens, bathrooms, floor coverings, painting the walls, patching walls here and there, because you've got to remember a lot of those buildings are stick houses, so they're timber frames. The ones that do have the masonry on it is generally the lower parts of the house, unless there's extreme levels of foundation problems where they're literally trying to save the building instead of just doing a renovation. But he would have said that if there was foundation issues and the building was threatening to fall over, that I can see being extremely expensive. But none of that has come in. No one's talking about that side of things. I just cannot see how it's possible.
I mean, Trump commented they've done it the expensive way when he went out and had a look with the hard hat on and all that sort of stuff. But I think they're just investigating what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, this response is really interesting. This next clip is a real key here in terms of the judge looking into it, a judge looking into it, and have a listen.
I love this bird.
State's Attorney for the District of Columbia. And with that job comes a responsibility to investigate and prosecute violations of federal crime in D.C., along with D.C. code crime. And my request in this case with the Federal Reserve was a legal request. And the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Powell, chose not to give a legal response. Instead, he chose to politicize and publicize. I did not politicize or publicize any of this. I follow the federal rules. I investigate until I have evidence. And if and when I do, then I go forward with a public statement. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about $1 billion in cost overruns. Talk about fiscal irresponsibility. Talk about bureaucratic bloat. We're not talking about $1 million, $10 million, $100 million. We're talking about $1 billion in cost overruns in D.C., and something that is purely in my lane as the United States Attorney to investigate, as well as lying before Congress. So both of these things are issues that I looked at, and on December 19th, we started the investigation in November. On December 19th, we sent a letter, an email, and we said, we'd like to talk to people at the Federal Reserve. Give us a call. No response for 10 days. December 29th. Please give us a call. We'd like to talk to you. We'd like to speak to you. No response for 10 days. We want to meet them the first week of January. No response. So then we did what any normal prosecutor would do, and we issued legal process. I'm not saying that. He's saying that. So does the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell respond to that? No. What he does is he issues a video. He claims that he's being threatened with a criminal indictment, threatened that the independence of the Fed is under attack, which couldn't be further from the truth. Now, normally what people do is they pick up the phone, they call you, they say, yeah, let's talk about it. But if they had responded, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And he's using this language about the independence of the Federal Reserve as some kind of ability for them to ignore any kind of legal oversight or legal scrutiny, or that would require us not to investigate potential lying before Congress. That's not how we work. No one is above the law. And so what we've got now is a case that, you know, the chairman is he's objecting to, and I can't tell if the claims are out of control or whether they're true. You know, if there are cost overruns, is it the contract? Is it the subcontractors, the contractors? Is it normal? And lying to Congress, did he know about it? Did he know about the numbers? Did he not know about it? I do an investigation, and I do it quietly until I get to the point where I can say something. But the chairman says, no, you're attacking the independence of the Federal Reserve. That's not what we're doing. We're doing our job. And I think the sad part about this is no one is above the law, nor should anyone think that they have the right to be above the law, Sean. And I'm curious to those who claim, oh, my gosh, this is a terrible thing, even in our own party. What do you suggest? Are there certain people that you cannot investigate? Are there certain people that we look the other way and throw complaints in the drawer? That's not the America that I grew up in, Sean.
Just to be clear, Judge, you gave them an opportunity to just talk to you and say, what's going on here? Why are these massive cost overruns? They didn't get back to you. That's what happened? Three times. He didn't respond.
Right. Instead, he comes out with this crazy video.
If you write me one time and I don't respond, I'm dead. So it would have been smart if they just responded and had a conversation with you.
Wow.
I think we can take a note out of what they do there. When she starts talking over, they started playing the music in the background.
Time to wind up.
Yep.
I think what's really interesting about this now, to lift the lid on this, you might be thinking, well, why is this such a big deal? Why is this such a big deal? Because banking controls your economic prosperity in a country, whether you thrive or not. So if they want you to spend more, a central bank will lower interest rates. If they want you to spend less, they'll increase interest rates. Okay. Now you think, well, okay, that's a very simplistic way of doing things. It is. But these guys have been allowed to print money for ages.
Yeah.
For ages, for centuries, right? And so this is a massive, massive pressure now on a central bank to be accountable to the American people as to what they're doing with all that money. And this is unprecedented in its time. No one has really investigated this closely a central bank before. And this is why I'm making such a big deal about it, because there's a tussle going on here as to who has jurisdictive right over what. How accountable should they be? Are they, as she said, she's saying the judges above the law. No one's above the law.
But you know who started that one, don't you?
What?
When they impeached Trump the first time.
Oh, yes.
No one. Every single Democrat was saying no one's above the law.
Yes. So the line, she's using the line now.
Yeah, they all are. I love it. So,
but the thing is that in traditional times, the bank just does what the bank wants to do. And this is massive pushback with Trump even going out there with a hard hat and putting it on display as far as the world is concerned in terms of the renovations and how much they've overspent. Trump knows what he's doing here. Is he behind the DOJ doing that? Who knows what's going on on that kernel, or is the DOJ operating independently of what's going on there? It's a really, really fascinating thing how that's playing out. And is it leading to, of course, the changes with the Fed? Because, I mean, remember, we also had Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve Governor, over an investigation last year over alleged allegations on mortgage fraud, who sat on the governing board of the Fed as well. So there's a bigger demand in the United States for accountability from those who are serving the Fed.
So question here for you, and I don't know if this is getting the realm of legalities, but let's say they do an investigation into Powell and he's found guilty. What happens then? Because he's been in charge of the monetary policies for all of America for how long now? Wouldn't they then have to investigate every single decision he's made whilst in that seat of power? And how did he get into that seat of power in the first place?
Well, he was put in that seat of power. I think Trump put him in there in the first term, right? But it's more of a case of, I think that the sticky point for them will be, did he lie to Congress in the investigation? That'll be more the sticky point.
Everyone in Congress lies. We know that's for a fact. So I have to say, as a normal everyday person, I'm more concerned about what he does with the monetary policies and the blowouts, because if he's pocketing that money from the construction, that's straight up corruption in my mind. So just, by the way, I'm not a judge. I can't say that.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got to find out where that money is going.
That's what
and I think that's why that lady judge was trying to keep things on the low, trying to keep the conversation, polite and cordial. And then if they found something, then they would be actioning it. But the old saying is, where there's smoke, there's generally fire. I think he's dodging and hiding.
What's really interesting in the whole context of where the world is going, okay, is that there's been a lot of changes at Fed to accept, after the Genius Act went through, cryptocurrency now.
Yep.
And now they've had to determine that banks are allowed to receive cryptocurrency. Prior to that, it was always, no, you're not licensed to do that. You can't do this. Now, what's really interesting is that over the last couple of days, the Clarity Act has actually stalled. So there's two pieces of legislation, three actually, that the US is trying to get passed around cryptocurrencies. The first was the Genius Act, which happened last year. Yep, that's all in law now. That was a reissue of stable coins, and one, it recognized stable coins are legitimate forms of currency. Number two, it and legalized it too, which was really fascinating. The second part was it had to be backed by something, stable coins. So if it was US dollars, they used to have treasury notes or the cash sitting aside. It just couldn't be created out of thin air, which is really clever because it's keeping the US dollar in demand by doing that. And the third thing that they passed was the fact, well, the most significant in my view, was it allowed cryptocurrencies and tech companies now to issue currency, which is a role that's always been reserved for the Federal Reserve in the United States or central banks, okay? So this is really interesting. Now, it seems that the banks are pushing back with the Clarity Act that's just going on. And what's occurred is that the Senate Banking Committee postponed its scheduled markup of a key crypt bill this week. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong pulled support for its draft text. And why? Because he was very, very concerned that the banks were writing in there, the banking committee it was set to go to the Senate Banking Committee for markup during the week. However, that was postponed because he cited he cited issues, including language that would appear to put one of the company's products at risk. And so what they were concerned is look, they can't do offer interest on stablecoins. And the banks did not want that to occur. And he's fighting an arms race saying, no, that's bad. That is bad for crypto companies. That is bad for basically holders of stablecoins, that they can't get interest on the money. And so what you're seeing here is potentially a battle between the banks wanting to maintain power and have control and be the ones who say, hey, you still need us to get interest on your money and to park it with us, not only custody but also loans.
Yep.
But the pin's been pulled. Have a look at this next video and what he had to say in relation to this. This is the guy who, of course, is in charge of Coinbase, the CEO.
Act passed into law, which actually did enable stablecoin rewards to happen. The banks had their own concerns, and we reached a good outcome in the Genius Act. And now the banks really are coming and trying to undermine the president's crypto agenda. I mean, these are the same banks that debanked him and his family, right? And they want to come in and say that Americans should not be able to actually earn more money on their money. They're trying to protect their own profit margins, taking money out of the pockets of hardworking average Americans and putting it into the coffers of these big banks that are hitting record profits. And so our view is that there should be a level playing field where banks and crypto companies can lean into stablecoin legislation as an opportunity, and that includes paying rewards to Americans so that they can earn more money on their money.
So before we get into that one, Damo here, do they need terms of length running the Federal Reserve?
Is he referring to the people, the board?
I'm pretty sure it's for Powell. How the president has a 2 4-year terms.
Yeah. Powell's due to his time expires in May.
Can he rerun? Can he get reappointed?
I'm not sure how that works.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that works.
I think Google can find that one out for us, but we'll have a look later.
Yeah.
My understanding is, again, I'm using Australian laws here. If I want to lend my own money to someone and then charge them a fee to do that, as long as it's a private arrangement, there's nothing to stop me from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I do that as a corporation or as a business, or I lend my money to lots of people, I have to get a finance license to be able to do that in Australia.
Not in all circumstances, as I understand it.
Okay, so
it still can be a private loan to someone.
But if I'm lending as a business,
to customers, as a business, you're going to need a license.
Yeah. So I think what's happening with Coinbase, what they want to do, they want to lend their cryptocurrencies to other people and then charge them interest rate on the money that they've lent. Now, that an original deposit which gets lent out would actually come from everyday mum and dads. So I think what's happening is that's directly in the realm of banking. I think they're trying to put a license on something which their legislation says they can't do. So I think I see what he's doing there. It's your money. You should be able to do what you want with it.
Not only that, but you're seeing companies like Ripple, and you're also seeing World Liberty, which is Trump's boys, applying for bank licenses at the moment.
Well,
so what you've got is crypto companies, investment firms now wanting to become banking institutions, and this is starting to creep into the banker space.
Yep. So I know in South America you can just buy a finance license. Is super easy. It's about $3,500. You can just buy one. But this is a totally different thing, because with a South American finance license, I can't sell finance into America. So there's all these regulations that you can and can't do.
Yeah.
So I can understand why the banks are doing what they're doing, because they're trying to protect their profit margins and all that sort of stuff. Again, I have to agree with this crypto guy. He's going directly against what Donald Trump's agenda around cryptocurrencies are.
Well, he's saying they are. The legislation is going against it, not him.
Yeah,
personally.
So the legislation is. I think there's going to be a lot of drama. I think there's going to be a lot of people complaining about stuff, and I'm down for it.
Yeah.
I want to see this disruption, because it's going to turn the market upside down. Some people are going to fail and drown, some businesses, like what was it, Brown Brothers during the GFC. And then you don't get other companies that just absolutely dominate. So I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of people to get in. They've just got to be smart with it.
Why am I bringing this to our attention? Because this is a major shake-up to the way finance works.
Correct.
Massive. And I know most people aren't seeing that. And I'm going, look, if you understand how central bankers work with governments in the issuance of currency and being able to those loans. So what happens is that the government wants cash, so it sells its bonds to the bank. The central bank then prints money on its behalf, and the government is now in debt to the bank, and your taxpayers' money is the guarantee for the loan to be repaid. Okay, so when you understand that you're actually becoming, in some ways,
you're a product.
You're a product.
Yep.
You know, what's your population statistics? What's your trajectory in terms of population? And your GDPI?
This is the exact reason why I said this is going back a fair while ago. I was saying that for some of the strongest economies in the next 10 years, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, obviously China's already there. These places with huge populations, because obviously a lot of the government revenue actually comes from taxing the citizens, that's why they're not going to be massive. If you can just bring their per individual GDP earnings up, even say 20%, that's a huge boost across an entire country.
We are seeing a financial system change drastically for our eyes. And in the midst of that, there's a great wealth transfer happening. And by the way, we are doing a seminar locally on the 12th of February. That's coming up on Thursday, the 12th of February.
And the details will be on blueskyfactory.com.au.
Not yet. We're going to do it. I'm still waiting for the artwork, but I'll give you plenty of preliminary warning that's coming up very, very soon on the 12th. So save the date. We'll be doing that in Belmont at the Country Comfort Hotel.
That place was awesome last time we were there.
Yeah.
So one of the other things is I get asked this question a lot because I do this show. It's like, how'd you get all this information? Well, it's pretty easy. I went to blueskyfactory.com.au. Now, Blue is BLU, Sky Factory. Derek runs the Prepare to Prosper course, advanced options trading courses. There's heaps and heaps of stuff in there. And this is from personal experience. I went from seriously struggling financially to retired in about 5 years after doing Derek's courses. Obviously, we had other investments that we were working with, but we were able to get to the point where, we can just travel whenever we want. So
fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek.
You're welcome.
I say it every single time. So Damo, my dad, who is 72, raised a good point. Hey, Dad, who's watching as well. He was raised and raised me to be seen and not heard without being allowed to question things. This allows corruption to run rampant. That's a good point. When you see it, you should raise it. Because the other one as well, we're seeing this a lot in Australian politics where Albanese has been able to just push whatever he wants through. Whenever you see a government doing bad, we've been calling it out. We've been talking about it. And the amount of times I've been called a conspiracy theorist and all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden they're going, you know what, Travis, you were actually right. This is bad. This does need to stop. And more people are jumping off the majors and going to the minor party, stuff like that. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done on the minor side of politics. We're not there yet. We haven't covered everything, but as a whole, we're moving in the right direction, which I have a lot of faith in. But you need to know how to protect yourself and your family within the system that you're in. And part of this is being aware of what politics does and how politics influences finance. So
the bureaucrats are coming under investigation and don't want to be held accountable. They avoid it. I've had them rock up at my door and I've asked them the tough questions and they just want to avoid that question like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because of the implications there.
They're told not to talk about it.
Exactly.
They want you to talk about what they want you to talk about, not what you want to talk about.
But we are the people who are having to be the opposition and ask for accountability and say, hey, what's going on?
Yep. So I'm getting the winks and the waves from Mr. Malloy here because we've actually gone over for about 5 minutes, but that's okay. Aaron can just reschedule things, making his life hard. See him smile there. Got himself another ban on social media, so we couldn't broadcast direct to his page. So this will be up again later on once Aaron gets off his backside and actually reshares it to his page. So Derek, we've got words already done. So Derek, final thoughts.
These are exciting times. This is going to be a bumpy year, a real bumpy year. You're going to see politics like no tomorrow on steroids in terms of governments collapsing, bureaucrats being removed. And, there is, in some predictions, some sadly passing away. I don't like to see any death and this sort of stuff, but there's some serious stuff that's about to unfold. And that's not a threat to anyone, but I'm watching prophetic words on this sort of stuff. And people have been waiting for justice and crying out for justice for a long time. And those people who have avoided being accountable have had opportunity to turn it around and say, hey, come clean, and haven't. And now it's time where enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Very exciting time for people who have been enslaved by that. I really see a time of freedom, but there's also a time of opportunity as well. But why I say all of that is it's going to be bumpy, and you're going to sometimes wonder, what on earth is the world coming to an end? No, it's just a massive shakeup to get us to freedom.
Really bad analogy. If you want to make a smoothie, you got to shake everything up. I mean, I'm not saying put people into the blender. Sorry, I hate my mind sometimes. Anyway, Derek, this has been Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth. Once again, fantastic being on here with you. Thanks for all your wicked insights. Aaron, thanks for being in the fishbowl, mate. You look awesome, having the light shining off your head. It was great. And ladies and gentlemen watching on live, thanks very much for tuning in. Damo, once again, one of the most prolific posters and commenters on our page. Keep them coming in. And, yeah, let's get rid of Albo really, really quickly. What? Oh, Aaron said request a song and we'll play it for her. You're just buying for time, aren't you? How much do you need? 30 seconds? No, we're good to wrap up? Okay, so this has been Edge Radio Australia. Travis, Derek, Aaron in the fishbowl, and we'll see you guys next week for the Greater Wealth. And tune in on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. We've got Terry Genius Zone. We should have a special guest for her show as well. So tune in edgeradioaustralia.com, or you can watch it on Facebook and YouTube live. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I think that's all the other stuff I was supposed to do. So have fun.